Where God bless me with, thank you, Papa Jesus. No boy can take you away again.
What happened to Shabba Ranks will shock the hell out of you. If you know anything about dancehall history, then you know at one point this man wasn't just a star. He was dancehall itself.
I'm gonna speak not to stinking Shabba.
The first artist to bring raw Jamaican culture to MTV stage, the Grammys, and the global mainstream. Long before you have TikTok, long before YouTube, or any streaming algorithm that could push a song. Yet somehow, he vanished. How did he manage to gain such stardom and afford to last it overnight? No massive farewell, no final world tour, just silent. Shabba disappeared. So in this video, we're going to discuss how one of the biggest international dancehall icons fade out so quietly. I'm talking about the rise, the power, and the mystery behind Shabba Ranks' sudden disappearance from the spotlight. Now, before I mention all of that, let me give you a quick rundown of who we are talking about. Shabba Ranks was born Rixton, Ralston, Fernando Garden, what a long name, on January 17, 1966. He hailed from a community called Seaview Gardens in Kingston. And you don't know, Seaview is one of the roughest yet most musical, fertile communities in Jamaica. He grew up surrounded by sound system, DJs, and the ghetto farewell. From early on, his deep voice and commanding presence sets him apart. In the late 70s and early 80s, he started to DJ in a local sound system like Roots Melody and Emperor Fate, where he sharpened his style and delivery. But it was when he joined Admiral Bailey and began recording for producers like King Jammies and Bobby Digital that his career exploded. And by the mid-80s, songs like Peeny Peeny, Dembow, and Wicked in a Bed had already made him a yard legend and set the blueprint for what modern dancehall toasting would sound like. Every rhythm he touched back then turned into a street anthem, and that raw, confident tone became his trademark. Before Shabba, Yellowman was the first to prove a Jamaican could cross borders and sell out dancehall to the world. But Shabba took that door Yellowman cracked open and kicked it off the hinges. Where Yellowman brought the charisma and the humor, Shabba brought the street energy and the sexual dominance that matched the emerging hip-hop scene of the early 90s. Shabba Ranks modernized the look. I'm talking about the designer suit, the chain, the bold stage performances, and he built a brand that appealed to both urban Americans and dancehall fans back home. When collaborating with R&B stars, Shabba Ranks blended that hardcore pathos with international rhythm and made the Jamaican accent cool to imitate. So while Yellowman was the pioneer, Shabba was the globalizer, the one who truly turned dancehall into an exportable, marketable sound. Without Shabba, there wouldn't be no champagne, no shaggy, no popcorn or even Vibes Cartel in those foreign spaces today. Now let's talk about the dominance era. See, before Beenie Man even dreamed of winning a Grammy, it was Shabba Ranks who was racking up all these awards. Shabba Ranks had that deep growl that made every rhythm sound like a sermon. And he wasn't just running the local charts, he was exporting the dancehall sound worldwide. Songs like Ting-a-ling, Trill with the Girls, Wicked in a Bed, and Mr. Loverman didn't just bust in Jamaica, they took over BT, MTV, and BBC Radio. He was the first to prove that a hardcore yard artist could conquer the foreign market without watering down the culture. But then, Shabba made being Jamaican look like a royalty. And by the early 90s, Shabba was everywhere. He was signed to Epic Records, performing with KSR1, Queen Latifah, Maxi Priest, and Johnny Grill. It gets even more interesting. He was the first dancehall artist to ever win a Grammy. Shabba won the award 2 years in a row. He took home the Grammy for Best Reggae Album in 1992 for As Raw As Ever, and again in 1993 for Extra Naked. See, back in the early days, the Grammy Awards never even recognized dancehall as a serious category. The award itself called Best Reggae Album. That alone show you how overlooked dancehall was. But when Shabba came on the scene, he shattered that barrier. He forced the industry to pay attention. That was how global and dominating Shabba Ranks was back then. The industry couldn't deny such power. From 1989 to 1993, Shabba Ranks wasn't just a regular artist. He was the boss of dancehall, the undisputed dandada in that era. He was the face, the voice, and the energy of dancehall. And during those years, no one could touch it. But here's where it all went sideways for the DJ. In 1993, Shabba appears on a UK television show called The Word, and he was asked about his view on homosexuality. And what he said, defending Jamaican values and quoting the Bible, caused an immediate international backlash. Promoters cancelled shows, media outlets labeled him as homophobic, and Sony/Epic Records distanced themselves. Just like that, the door that was wide open slammed shut. And remember, this was pre-YouTube, pre-social media, which means there was no way for him to explain, defend, or connect directly with the fans. One statement, one interview, and a career that seems unstoppable suddenly hit a massive wall. When the controversy hit, everything changed for Shabba Ranks. Major networks and promoters instantly vanished. He was dropped from some of the biggest shows, BET, MTV appearances. Word on the street was that Shabba Ranks was well onto his third Grammy. After Shabba's controversy, the international music industry changed its entire approach to dancehall artists. Major labels got scared of anything that sounded too raw, too real, or even too connected to the street culture. Artists like Beenie Man, Sean Paul, Shaggy, and Dana King learned that to break into the foreign market, they had to soften the lyrics, the delivery, or even the image. Shabba had shown the world what raw Jamaican energy sound like, and the entire industry freaked out. The blueprint he built is still here, but the rules changed. In another video, I'm going to go through some of those rules, because even after Shabba Ranks' disappointment, a lot of dancehall artists continued with the same energy. Some of them thought that Shabba Ranks was already special, but what came after changed everything in dancehall, even for Vybz Kartel. Now let's talk about the industry shift. And now Shabba Ranks lost his appeal to fans, even in Jamaica. See, Shabba Ranks' controversy caused instant backlash in the UK and the US media. And after all his shows were cancelled and promoters pulled out, days after it was announced that all radio stations quietly stopped spinning his records. And back in the early 90s, international tolerance and political correctness were growing fast. And Shabba, who built his career on raw, unfiltered expression, suddenly found himself labeled controversial and unsafe for mainstream platforms. See, back then, the music business was controlled by labels, TV networks and the radio programmers. So once they shut you out, you were gone. And remember, the record label that was once marketing his music, Epic Records, they vanished, and new dancehall faces started to emerge. We attack artists like Beenie Man, Bounty Killer, Buju Banton. They were all hungry and ready to take over. Shabba absence create a gap that others quickly fill. Locally, the culture had already started to shift. In Jamaica, if you are not visible, you are forgotten fast, even though you are international. Think about Sean Paul and Shaggy. They are not hot in Jamaica, but they are superstars overseas. By the mid-90s, the sound has evolved. Faster rhythm, new flow, more street energy. People respect Shabba, but the youths move on to new wave. And he was living abroad, focusing on family, and the local scene was definitely transforming without him. Even though he tried releasing a few singles, after the momentum was gone, his image that had core, gold-plated international dandada didn't fit the new standard of the street. One thing for sure though, he influenced almost every major dancehall superstar that came after. Beenie Man took his stage confidence and turned it into a showmanship. Bounty took his dominance and turned it into a lyrical warfare, even the depth of his voice. Sean Paul took his crossover saga and polished it for the pop charts. And Vybz Kartel, he took Shabba's mix of intelligence, street credibility and branding and evolved it into a modern day empire. And if you did not know, Shabba Ranks was also the creator of the hand sign in Jamaica for a dancehall artist. Yeah man, so you see the Gaza sign, or the Unruly sign, or the Vendetta sign. Shabba Ranks have his own sign too. Shabba made it cool to own your image. He proved that a Jamaican artist could be ghetto and global at the same time. After all the storm, Shabba never really chased fame again. He refused to beg the industry for a validation, saying in one interview that my work already speaks for itself. The real shock isn't why the DJ vanished, it's why he had to. Shabba's story shows how fragile success is when culture clashes with industry politics. He was too raw for mainstream America, but too global for the local scene. He got caught between two worlds that didn't know how to handle a full-blooded Jamaican superstar. And that's a lesson every artist today needs to understand. Fame is temporary, but legacy is forever. And if you're not careful with how you handle your image, the same system that celebrates you can erase you overnight. And when I really think about it, and this is my take, Shabba Ranks wasn't just a dancehall artist. He was a game changer. Honestly, if Shabba Ranks had continued that same run, the King Talk would be different. And also I think dancehall, hardcore dancehall, would be way more mainstream. Remember, in the artists like Beatman, them would have to put in way more work, and Shabba Ranks would have well collected at least 4 or 5 Grammy by now. He changed the sound, the style, and the global perception of dancehall up to this day.